everyone. Can you hear me well? Yeah? Amazing to see so many of you here today. Thank you so much for coming to our talk, and thanks, Zuzka, for the intro. During 2024, our company, together with many more in hospitality industry, was under highly organized cyber attack. And us, as a part of a product security team, we spent long hours and some sleepless nights trying to defend it. Now, when we are finally out of the woods on this particular one, we want to share our story with you. What worked, what helped us, what were our mistakes, and also what we can legally share here. And what you should have in place to be better prepared for any cyber attack if it was about to happen to you today, to be better prepared than us back in 2024 during summer. And having anomaly detection in place would definitely be one of those things. Sorry, clicker going wrong way. Imagine, your holiday is coming up. What a nice feeling, am I right? You can imagine yourself sitting on a beach, sipping drinks, climbing to the top of the mountain or skiing down from it. But let's be frank here, the time leading up to that holiday time can be fairly stressful. You are closing up all of your tasks in your backlogs. You might be packing up very last minute, like some of us fairly often do. And amidst all of it, you receive this message. It's booking confirmation, you are busy, you skim fast through it, you see your name, booking information. Right, you confirm the message and continue with your day. But wait a second, was there something strange going on in the picture? Have you noticed something? On a second look, you might see this odd-looking link. Okay, sorry. Odd-looking link that is taking you to transaction save.top/payment. How many of you noticed this in a previous picture? Yes. And kind of maybe you are expecting something like this from a cybersecurity talk, this kind of shenanigans. And great that you noticed, you are probably well trained. And what makes this one particularly hard to spot is that they are using all the relevant information that can identify you. So your name, it looks quite legitimate, even the message. It has even the booking number. And that's what we called spear or targeted phishing, and it makes it really challenging to combat. Because the message is crafted in a way that it gains your trust, so you believe that it's the right message, and it's really hotel coming for the confirmation. And again, great job for spotting this. And yeah, we work in tech. We are better prepared for this. But there is the rest of the population, the general population, and maybe think about your grandparents. If they would receive this kind of information, this kind of like message, would they notice? How about your parents even? Sorry, I have different clicker. This makes it more awkward. And this is where we come in place. Not with the phishing part, but with what we do. My name is Lenka Křenková, and I work as a senior security data analyst. And I've been working with data for over 10 years. And last year, during a certain security incident that was very long, I was transferred internally to a product security team at Muse. And Muse, we started as property management system for hotels, but we are fast growing and we are ambitious, so our portfolio grew as well. With us, currently we have revenue management system, we have housekeeping services, we have event management, and fintech, and I'm forgetting perhaps something more. And this is Mira.
Hello, everyone. I'm filling the position of a staff security engineer at News, so I'm part of the similar organization as Lenka is, and I have an oversight of the security architecture of our product as well. To understand what was the pathway for the attackers to get closer to us and to be able to get that data of the guests, it is important to see that this was via an exposure of something that most of us trust. I'm saying most of us because I don't trust it anymore. And that's specifically the Google search engine. In this example, you can clearly see that there is a link that would lead our customers to a login page of ours. The sponsored link and the URL is still confidently telling you that you're going to land at appnews.com, while the thing is completely different. When you click on that link, you would end up in this place, and it is obvious that this is not something that you would want to see. Yet, as a customer, you would trust Google, and you would look into it from the perspective of, oh yeah, well, I've used something that I trust, why should I double check the URL? So sometimes it doesn't have to be that obvious that you're getting attacked. And this login page actually looks very similar to ours. So in this scenario, the user would submit their credentials, and the account would be taken over. And this is obviously something that is quite hard to spot even for us, but then think about the hospitality industry as a whole. This phenomenon is something that we would call a very, very specific blind spot of ours, because we at security would usually look at bugs, we would look at vulnerabilities in the code, we would look at conventional findings. We didn't really concern ourselves that one of the pathways could be actually Google. And for that, we needed to branch up a little bit against our tooling, so we needed to implement new things, and we needed to work very closely with our engineering. And one of the bigger results of all of these things was the anomaly detection.
What do we mean by anomaly detection? Some of you already know, if you also listened to the previous talk by Lucia that took place here. And for those who weren't here, anomaly detection is a process of identifying events that deviate significantly from majority of the data. And in cybersecurity, this is crucial for detecting unusual activities that could indicate that something is going on in your system, perhaps something fishy. And by establishing the baseline of what's considered normal user and system behavior, anomaly detection systems can help you flag deviations and identify those outliers. And then you can quickly assess what's normal and what's perhaps considered abnormal. And yeah, by now you might think, well, we have monitoring of our systems very well set up, so why would we even need that? But I would still vouch for the fact that you should go deeper. Anomaly detection helps you to craft more complex set of rules that will assess the data in a continuous way, and it can assess them near real time, or almost a real time. But the downside is that it makes it more expensive. Either way, if you are using monitoring or detection, you should never ignore early sign of any attack. And for us, those early signs were traffic coming from unusual locations. We don't have any customers in Russia or China. Similarly, we saw abnormal API requests for specific roles. Why is some housekeeper accessing this PII data of customers? Speaking of data, that's another thing that we saw. There was unexpected spike in access of bigger reports in the system. And another thing that you should never ignore is when you have increase in customer communication. And it makes a lot of sense. They were under attack, they were scared, so they contacted us. What's happening? It might sound very intimidating in the beginning, when you are just in the beginning of your journey to build anomaly detection, but I'm here to tell you, maybe something a bit contradictory, that you don't need to build empire right away. And we couldn't. We were in the midst of this long-running incident, and we just didn't have bandwidth. What we did is that we took systems that we already have, where we worked with data, or where the data was already, and started from there. We used some session tracking to check the front-end movements of our end users. We also combined it with back-end logs. We used observability tooling for our investigations and some relational data to indicate the relationships of different entities of our customers. Of course, we used security tooling as well to allow us near real-time analysis, but to be completely honest, we built majority of our system in Databricks. We decided to go for the tool because we had the data there, we knew the tool, we knew its shortcomings. And afterwards, when the situation eased up, we were able to start migrating to more appropriate systems. Today we want to show you some detection techniques that we used. It will be machine learning, some statistical methods with a bit of sprinkle of AI, as everything is these days, and some rule-based detections. If you are ever compromised and you are under some cyber attack, I really hope that you won't have feature that would allow direct contact, messaging or emails to your end customers. Or if you do, that the attackers won't figure it out. That wasn't unfortunately our case. And to be able to see whether the changes are malicious or not, it's no longer this simple. It's no longer just this Nigerian prince that needs your money. So we need to do something more advanced to be able to distinguish. Some of the challenges we faced were that you might not see it that well, but we saw messages like this gibberish you can see here. Not humanly readable. Of course, it feels like something dodgy is going on, but you can't be really sure. We figured out that it's written in HTML, and thanks to beautiful soup library, we were able to decode it and realize that actually, yes, this message was malicious. And some of the cases were super straightforward to see. There were typos. Obviously, also this time pressure for you to act fast, otherwise they will cancel your reservation. Some of the messages were much more advanced. Here you can see use of emojis, better formatting. We are fairly certain that they were using AI to craft some of these. So AI being used on both sides here. Then one of our favorites were these educational one, when they were advising people to take better security precautions. And funnily enough, we don't even feel that this particular one was supposed to be targeted to our platform. They were perhaps targeting different big player in the hospitality industry. For the bulk evaluation of all of these changes, we decided to use the clustering so we can spot these differences on larger scale. We used the above-mentioned beautiful soup, some more data preprocessing, and Python magic. We also used the OpenAI language models and BERT topic to create these commonalities within them, and UMAP to reduce the dimensionality of all of these clusters, so you can see them plotted like you can see here. You can see the bigger clusters, and there are those that were actually malicious, because those changes were happening on multiple hotels that were not related, and they were happening in much larger scale, and they were too similar to each other. This allowed us to act quicker because we were able to remove these from the system, so they are no longer reaching the hotel guests. And of course, we notify our customers of this compromise.
And to have a little bit of a closer look at the spoofing of our domains and how we detected it, we also used anomaly detection. At the very beginning, you would see something completely easy to understand, that there are such small details and such small differences between a lot of those domains. So you can see it's just a character that's added to the original one. So we would have a map of their DNS records, of the way that they would be using those domains, and this was super useful. In cases like these, we've used DNS Twist, which is an open source tool to which you would just feed a domain name. It would tell you, or it would get you all of these similar domains. It would get you the records. And while in case of appnews.com, it would serve well, it didn't serve well in an example like this. I'm not even going to try to read it. Yet, this is where we decided to utilize LLMs. In order to get to that stage where we were able to confidently say if a domain was malicious or not, we would get to a point where we would just take information that was landing in our product at the very beginning when the user would first interact with the platform. We would look for any indicators that would contain any domain names, and if we had a suspicion that that domain would be malicious, we would initiate the takedown based from the decision of the LLM model. You could almost call it agentic, if I dare to say so. And it would allow you to run multiple different runbooks that would then serve it to memory, so we don't go over and over and over again about these same domains that we've already assessed. And in other cases where we had, let's say, like medium severity, we would then engage our SOC team who would make a decision based on some automation that would allow them to see that there was something happening. This was done by Levenstein distance under the hood, which is an algorithm for comparisons of two strings. In this example, it is quite straightforward, so you can see that we would create an index based on addition of deletion operations, insertions, and substitutions. And based on some threshold that was then specified within the model, it would take action.
And if you want to use some business logic, if your anomaly detection, rule-based detections will be your best friend, and they can be most powerful weapon in the world. To build a great rule-based detection, you really need to understand your product inside out, not just how you build it, but also how your users are using it. And that's something that Lucia already mentioned here in a talk before. And that's where domain knowledge of your data professionals can come in place. And that's ultimately why I'm standing here in front of you today and how I transferred into product security team. Out in the wild, you can sometimes fairly easy, spot hotels that are somewhat connected to each other. We call these that are under same umbrella hotel chains. And they often share data with one another. They might be sharing customer, or very likely be sharing customer data. Same with your loyalty points, and very likely also employees. And what's unlikely is that these data or these things will be shared between hotels of Amazing Inn hotel here and with a nice hotel. They won't share this with one another because they are not under the same umbrella. So when we spot that some sort of entity, it can be IP address, it can be device, it can be angry cat, is accessing this data on multiple of these hotel chains, we are able to anomaly detection, or thanks to anomaly detection, to spot this, flag this, and investigate further if this proves to be a malicious, which was a very common pattern last year for us, we are able to let our customers know about these.
And everything sounds nice, right? It sounds like it is easy to do. It sounds like it is cheap to do, even though we said it wouldn't be. The problem with all of these things is that we need to specify the data windows and the possible dates that we are assessing, because otherwise it can end up as something like this. I think that all of us, and I'm sorry that the picture is not fully shown, I think that all of us has faced it previously, that we were just awoken to a cloud bill that we were not happy with, and I'm yet to see somebody who didn't. If somebody is here, I would like to take some tips, because this is something that we struggled through specifically throughout this incident, that we needed to boot up something super quickly. And if you're building something super quickly, you tend to miss those spots, as I was calling it, the blind spot for us in many different ways. And in a different example, it is also important to see if you need the assessment on the basis of each of those domains that you have within the product, so you don't miss information that you might otherwise find super important, but also, again, just so you don't pay huge sums of money for everything that is happening in your assessment pipelines. This might lead you to thinking that we didn't really change that many things aside from these procedural values, but we've also introduced a plethora of things into our product, and we were highly engaged with our customers throughout the whole time. One of the things that we needed to set our foot down on was adoption rate of 2FA, given the pathway that we've all seen. I think it's negligible to say that if we had less people with 2FA, it would be a problem. We've also pushed for phishing-resistant 2FA in form of passkeys, and in some cases, if the domain was deemed sensitive enough, we would be able to allow the hoteliers to have re-authentication mechanisms in front of them, so they can, again, just verify that identity of the user. We've pushed for device authorization, which allowed us to also see another data point. And now I'm just thinking, are you looking into it the same way that I am? Because this sounds like a lot of work on authentication for a company that is doing something for hotels. Do you feel like this is a good endeavor to invest in? Exactly, we didn't as well. So we are looking into a replacement of our identity provider quite soon, because this was just too much overhead, and we are playing catch up all the time with these things. So it doesn't really make sense for us to invest a lot of engineering time into implementing something that's already out there. When it comes to features that are built into the system with the consideration of the user experience, we would have features that would be self-adopted by the hotels instead of us pushing everything down their throat like the 2FA adoption. We would allow them to have delays on the mail template modifications. We would allow them to have multiple different things when it comes to approval processes across the board when they were changing different things in the product. But besides all of this, and this is something that anomaly detection has enabled us to do, we've been able to create a comprehensive map of all of the domains. We've been able to understand where we can create which rate limits, and in cases those rate limits would be breached, we would place CAPTCHA there. This also helps us to kind of, distinguish the usage of our main application in Commander and our API layer, because some of our customers were abusing the Commander layer. And to understand that this is not always an endeavor that would lead to changes from engineering on authentication level, let's just have a look at this quick example. In this example, you can see that just small UI changes can have an impact on the adoption of roles. On the left-hand side, you can see that we have the admin role almost as the first possible solution. So you would create a new user, this just pops into your eye, and you're like, all right, well, I will create the new user as an admin, what can go wrong? And then we got to a point where we just decided that this is not the case that we want to push with, and we've pushed it all the way to the right. We gave a huge disclaimer that if you are doing this, you're probably doing something wrong. And this led to a decrease of new admins being created. And I know that all of us love processes, but processes are essentially what became a lot better for us. Stakeholder management is one thing, because if you're at an incident that is such severe for 9 months, which is quite a lot of time, and you're, again, just playing pushback with the attackers, you get to a point where you get pretty good at spinning up the teams and the task forces that will help you. As aside from that, we've also been able to spot people in the company that would be able to then help us join the Security Champion program that would allow us to understand better what are the challenges of the engineering teams and how to help everybody in a way that we don't have to hire 70 more security engineers. And aside from that, threat modeling, although this might look a little bit displeasing, this is something that helped us to get out of the woods, as Lenka mentioned previously. It would allow us to understand every single domain. It would allow, and this is obviously some engineering time that went to all of this. So we've basically created this whole task force with staff engineers across the whole product, and we've ran retroactive threat modeling sessions for everything we had in place. And every single engineer was close to the table. It was fantastic. I enjoyed it. I hope they did as well.
We already showed you some of the great cross-team collaboration. And I want to show you one more because it was a bit of mind-blowing for me, and it was a collaboration we had with marketing. And we already mentioned that the attackers were copying our login page and harvesting the credentials of our users. Thanks to the marketing team, we were able to craft these new login pages that would look something like this. And they were not only showing all the users that they are in a right web page, but they were also educating them how to be more resilient toward phishing. And we used neon signs. We also used animals to maximize the awareness, impact, and cuteness. But nothing was rainbows and unicorns, as you kind of like understood already from this whole talk. And let's talk about data quality. Raise your hand if you have this level of confidence in data in your org. No? I was expecting many more hands being up. You maybe don't work enough with the data. But still, thanks for the engagement here. And to be frank, this is definitely our issue, and I'm working over decades with data, and I'm yet to be in a company that has this perfect data that you don't have any issues with, and you have it in one system, and everything is just amazing. But to be fair, I don't think it's possible. And some of the issues we actually had was something like this. And we actually realized that it was external issue with the location tracking, which we couldn't really fix. So we on the outside, so we had to parse the data. Also, there was some lag in API loggers, so the timestamps were not matching. But however you approach this, if you just wait around for this to be perfect, you can get paralyzed, because any simple problem, when you overanalyze it, it can, with enough reflection, become this unsolvable conundrum. And to wait around, to have good data and everything in good shape, to start building anomaly detection, you won't ever start.
And I think it's also super important to understand that even though we've just said all of these things we've did or the challenges we faced, there are still multiple different gaps. I don't know if we said it enough, but data is a problem. The classification of the data is still a little bit challenging. This is something that we are working on as every single part of this slide, honestly, but we just need to get better. Because with every single new incident on the horizon, at least in our security domain, it is almost always you will be engaging a different group. And stakeholder management is key there. We are getting better at it. We got a lot better at it because at the very beginning it was basically just us trying to talk to somebody who wanted to know how much money are we spending, and we didn't know, right? Because we couldn't quantify it, we didn't know the risk, and all of these things combined are just super frustrating to deal with. And yet, without our adoption of the new features, which is something that we faced at the very beginning because we've pushed out the feature after feature after feature after feature to remediate all of these things, we would not get anywhere. And usually it's just about getting into a point where your customers are more, or your competitors are more vulnerable than you are. And acceleration of adoption is a universal problem. And to leave you with a few things, the first point basically tell you to not over-engineer. I'm sure none of you have heard it yet. And for us, it was also super important to just look into any single part of the stack that was already established. Without it, we would spend a lot of time on going maybe through purchasing processes or going through stuff like trying to implement it from zero. So we've dealt with inconsistencies and with the tooling that was not right for the job, but we did it in a way that it served us at the given time. And incidents for us were a good opportunity to actually get better at a lot of things, as they usually are, but it was a great opportunity to get closer to the rest of our engineering org, because before that, security was almost some team that was just, out there lingering in the void. And if you'd like to know more about this specific pathway, we have an article on the News Developers page that is showing you how the attackers were exploiting the Google Ads specifically. And we also have links to our socials here. Thank you.
Wow, thank you guys very much. Checking the Slido, please ask the questions. The talk was pretty awesome. I had some questions at the beginning, but you covered most of them for me.
Great,
but maybe I would like to ask if you can elaborate a little bit more about the security champion program, and how does it work for non-technical people? Like you mentioned engineers quite oftentimes. What about us non-engineers? Imagine your colleague and...
Yeah, of course. First of all, we don't discriminate. So if you want to be there, you can be there. It's just a matter of trying to, put it all together and make sure that there is something for everybody. But usually we would engage people from multiple different teams. So all of the teams that are working on building anything would be engaged. We also have people from customer support, because that allows us to engage with the customers in such a better way that it just would be painful without it. We are also in the process of expanding towards sales in this regard, because we realized that the security features that we've built would attract more mature customers over the time. And we also have security champion t-shirts. So this is our way of engaging them. We just give them merch.
Yes.
Yeah, merch always works.
Answer to everything is merch.
I agree. Okay, thank you very much. And I see we have there a question in Slido, so I'm gonna read it for you. What security tools and from vendors are you using internally, if you can share?
Do you want to go?
All right. Well, it's going to be quite a list, but usually I would say that we are trying to stay a little bit on the saner side, so we don't want to spend that much money on tooling. We would rather spend money on the tooling that makes sense, so we are not like throwing money around. For the specific scenarios of the domain takedowns in these cases, we were using 3 different tools. And you might wonder why we were using 3 different tools, because they, like, all of them had issues with detections. So we had to kind of pinpoint the right one after a while. So yeah, 3 tools for that. That would be Doppel right now. That's the last one that we run with. For general posture management, we are right now implementing Wiz. So hooray for Wiz. Wiz is great. And for other things in the code sphere, we were using Sneak previously. We were using Sentinel for our CM. And I think I will just stop there to not expose more.
You can come and tell us, like, if you want to edit the answer in
Yes.
the recording. And that brings me to another question. So how did you stop Google from being evil? I consider it just a humorous question. And please answer it.
No, Václav is always serious, so I assume this is a very serious question, am I right?
I think that for the most part, the Google pathway was the biggest exposure that we got to all of these things, and it was at points super frustrating to just work with them and to try to get to a point where they would be able to actually help us. So their takedown system for ads would, for instance, take hours, while the ad would be up for an hour. So they would take down the ad after it's no longer there, and they're like, oh yeah, we've banned this guy. They're not going to do it again. The only problem there is that we, as I said, we were not only targeted by this on our own, it was also the Google Ads team that fell prey into a similar path to attack, which is just a little bit interesting. So yeah, they've just gathered the accounts from there. They would have the advertisers, and they would then use those advertising accounts to target all of us.
Interesting. That was the word. Okay, one more question, and I would say that it would be the last one. So, anomaly detection are part of your normal detection library, or is it part of a tactical threat hunting process?
So at the time of the incident, we were just using it for detection, so we could work with our product teams to actually build something that would stop these attacks. Right now, we are getting to a phase where we are using it. Well, we are not yet using it, but we spun up a security operations team that is targeted specifically towards the product. And that team is right now building up from the ground. Lenka is the part of the team. And they are working on using it in proactive scenarios as well.
One thing to just add, like when this whole incident started, there was only a security engineering team. And no one had any SecOps experience, so everyone had to learn fast and adapt. So yeah, we are still in a process of developing all our processes and choosing the right tools and building the systems.
Cool. I'm super happy that this topic of security actually brings all of you people here, because there's a very huge crowd, and I'm super happy about it. Please, once again, big round of applause for our speakers, Lenka and Mira.
Thank you.